Good evening, everyone. Sincere apologies for starting a little bit behind schedule. The weather here has been like it's been raining, and the network has not been good enough. And I sincerely apologize for that. And I believe that is also the reason why the moderator has not been able to log in. Sincere apologies for that. Without wasting more time, I want to welcome each and every one of us to the 13th Alumni Lecture, Artificial Intelligence Applications in Supply Chain. And I want to believe tonight we are going to have a rich source of ideas that we can borrow, use in our daily lives, improve on our own businesses for those in logistics, and also to see how we can also improve the supply chain of the businesses around the country. You will agree with me that now is the time that we need to be looking at optimizing our operations as a nation with the current exchange rate and the high cost of premium metal spirit right now. We must be looking at optimizing our operations. Every day right now, I have to do a lot of calculations in my movements just to see how to cut down on logistic cost in my day-to-day activities. And I believe that also we can also learn one or two things as regarding what's the name, supply chain management using artificial intelligence. So I'm going to anchor temporarily for the moderator, and after which is here, it will take over the discussion tonight. Without wasting time, I want to welcome the chairman of today's occasion, Engineer Alumni Onadeko, to give us his opening remarks. Engineer, you're welcome, sir. Sir, you are muted. Can you kindly unmute, sir?
Good.
All right, sir. You are good, sir.
Thank you. So good evening, friends. Good evening, colleagues. I'm so delighted to be here today because I can say that I'm among people who might share the same DNA. Having passed through the industrial engineering department of Great UI. I believe that we all share the same DNA. Not wasting much time. This evening we're talking about artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence is actually one of the most disruptive technologies that is trending now. It's affecting businesses. It's affecting even the academia. It's affecting the way we do things in our lives. So it's something that we all really need to know about because there are opportunities in it, and there are also threats in the use of artificial intelligence. A typical example of one of the threats is that last year, one of the four biggest consulting companies in the world laid off over 1,300 staff. That's the first time that this company that has been in existence for over 90 years is doing that. And why did they do it? Because they found out that they could use artificial intelligence to do exactly what the same people are doing. So you can see how disruptive we can see. But meanwhile, it has also opened opportunities. If we go to fintech, even the Google and all the other search engines, they have started adopting artificial intelligence. So there's a lot of opportunities, and this is the technology that we all really need to know about. And this evening, our guest lecturer is actually going to tell us how we apply artificial intelligence in supply chain. Supply chain is very important because I mean, that is the connection where we get goods and services from the various producers to the end user. So it's really important. And I believe it's going to tell us how artificial intelligence is being applied and used to improve the efficiency in such supply chain management. So at this point in time, I'll take a pause and I would invite the moderator to talk a little, to let us know a little more about our lecturer for the day. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys at the end of the presentation when I give the closing remarks. Thank you very much. I look forward to having a nice time at this lecture. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Right now, we want to move on to the goodwill message from our special guest of honor, who is currently not in the meeting right now. So we'll move on to our guest of honor, Professor Victor Okorua, who is the Director of Academic Planning, University of Ibadan. He will give his goodwill message for this occasion. You are welcome, sir.
Okay. And man. I like the way because all is going AI now. You like said. I've loved stuff of AI. That is because time. Why optimize resource that human being and then it within the shortest and help you but like the chairman said back in it, we have to lay up.
No, sorry,
and I asked my people become yes, it will all of the people except you are saying to reduce population size. And that we can say yes, okay, we are reducing people, maximizing with technology. Okay, now, of course, with respect to value supply chain, very important, both backward and forward integration, very important, particularly with respect to both producers and as well as marketers, transporters, and the rest of them, those who move goods to be used, and after it's being used, produce and move on. And we know it takes a lot of resources to do all of this, particularly if you're a big-time producer or you're a big-time processor or you're a big-time transporter, and you need to know the hubs and the shortest route and things like that. Yes, AI definitely would help to pull all this together and give you the best pathway to follow. People like me have started using AI. There's this funny one we use. They call it Perplexity AI. You just put some things there and ask it to redefine some of those things, and you'll be amazed what it brings out. So it's a welcome thing. We all buy into it, and I'm sure my goodwill is that what the speaker will be saying tonight will be so interesting that all of us we take a lot of things home and begin to see how we can put our hands on the decks and begin to see how we can apply ourselves, because it has come and we cannot go away from it, and we must imbibe it. And I'm sure it will help Nigeria greatly, especially our youth, open opportunity. They are the ones that make use of all these devices now, and it will be very good for them. Only that we in the academics have to be careful, because again, you will see students will no more be able to practically do the assignments. They will take it to AI and begin to give us results. So if you are not part of AI, you wouldn't know what they've done. But if you are part of it and you know, you say, no, this one has been done by AI, this is not a physical thing. So I welcome the speaker, and I'm happy to be here. And I'm happy I will be here to hear and to learn more too. Thank you very much. That's my goodwill.
Thank you so much, Prof. We really appreciate your wealth of experience and for what you've shared tonight. Thank you so much for that goodwill message. Interestingly, we also have somebody in the ICT here, the Director of Items, that's Information and Technology Management Services, University of Ibadan, Mrs. Alao. I would like to her to also quickly give a goodwill message before we move on tonight. Mrs. Alao, please.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I really didn't prepare. But it's a pleasure to be here. And as the previous speakers have mentioned, we're in the era of AI. And whether we like it or not, the world is moving ahead. And as an educational institution, there are many areas of application of AI, which I'm sure we will all be glad to learn more from this lecture, and then find places of application, both as academia and as individuals. So I wish us a fruitful time, and these are my best wishes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. We want to move on quickly to the reading of the citation of the guest speaker tonight. I want to call on Engineer Sanusi to please unmute and read this citation of our guest speaker tonight. Engineer Sanusi, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Engineer, can you hear me?
Yes, you are good.
Okay. Yes, it's an honor to be here, and I'm really glad that I'm here. Hello, can you hear me once again? I think my network is working.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
I can hear you.
So I'll be moving on to reading the citation of the speaker, Oluwakorede Kehinde Moshood, and I'm honored to be here once again tonight, and I'm also looking forward to learning as much as possible from him. He's personally someone I interact with a couple of times due to his work at Comestibles, and I'm really interested about tonight. So moving on, Oluwakorede Kehinde Moshood and his twin were born in Ibadan on the 9th of September 1996 to the family of Engineer Babatunde. He grew up in the Alarere community of Ibadan. He attended Shubola Memorial Nursery and Primary School, where at the age of 9, his twin brother and himself won the national mathematical competition on Work It Out, a TV show showing on NTA, the Nigerian Television Authority. At the age of 10 years, Oluwakorede was elected as the senior prefect in his primary school. He then furthered his education by attending the International School Ibadan, University of Ibadan, for his secondary education, where he was also the senior prefect and a member of the JEPS Club, winning several science and technology competitions, including the Southwest NTA Science Expo for secondary school, where he and his team developed a smokeless charcoal cooker. Engineer Oluwakorede Moshood proceeded to attend the University of Ibadan to study industrial and production engineering, where he graduated with honors. While in the university, he founded his first technology-based startup, Comestibles, which today had evolved to become a digital food supply chain company present in Ibadan and Lagos, Nigeria. In his career as an engineer, he has built and is still building software applications for the banking, health, logistics, and food sectors, including AI-driven applications. Today, Engineer Oluwakorede Moshood is honored to talk to you as the head of engineering at TradeAlive, an AI supply chain software startup. it is my honor to present to everyone here tonight, Engineer Oluwakorede Moshood, our speaker for the night. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Engineer Sanusi. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome Engineer Korede Moshood for his presentation. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here. Good evening, Chairman, the special guest of honor, and all the protocols to be observed. It's a great honor to be here this evening, to be discussing this topic with us. As the guest of honor already said, AI is something that is trending today, and everyone is on everybody's lips. The purpose of this lecture this evening is to basically look at how AI can help us improve efficiencies of supply chain across board. Here's the agenda of the talk for today. There's going to be a section where we look at the evolution of AI and also look at the introduction to supply chain to see how supply chain or what supply chain is made of basically, and we can then see areas where AI can be implemented within the supply chain. Also, we'll see why do we need to apply AI now into supply chain. Also, we'll see the various applications, and we'll see some case studies of 3 companies in which AI can transform their operations basically. Then eventually, hopefully, we get to see like a live demo of some of these case studies. Without spending much time, so we'll begin with the evolution of AI. Most people today confuse AI, artificial intelligence, with machine learning, which is not actually correct or the right thing to do. Artificial intelligence has existed for so many years, right? Machine learning is something that just came up within the past years, and machine learning is just a subset of AI, and it's basically made up of the use of algorithms and other statistical models to learn from data. So artificial intelligence, when it all began, was just based on rules, right? So I could say, for example, if this is this condition, please do this. If this is not the condition, do something else. So artificial intelligence began with rules, right? Over time, this evolved drastically to learn from data, and that is where machine learning comes in. Also, over the period of the last 10 years, machine learning has also evolved drastically. We all started with being able to have a data set and then able to like map that data set to a list of outputs. So take, for example, we have a list of pictures, a picture of a cat, a picture of a dog, a picture of a ball, and you pass that picture to the artificial intelligence model, and you label that particular picture as, okay, this is a cat, this is a dog, and you have so many pictures of cats, so many pictures of dog, and you then ask the AI model, okay, I'm giving you this picture, what kind of picture is this? And it tells you that, okay, it's a cat or it's a dog, and this is because you've created like a labeling system. So that's where machine learning started from. I'm called that a supervised form of machine learning, where you have the list of inputs and then you label those inputs, and then you ask your model, okay, what does this particular picture, what does this particular input produce? Over time, this has evolved. Also, we have traditional machine learning models like regression, which is used for things like demand forecasting. We also have things like random forest and LSTMs, which are basically used for forecasting methods that are based in forecasting like demand and other things in the supply chain. One of the biggest breakthroughs of artificial intelligence over the last few years has been development of neural networks. So neural networks allow artificial intelligence to be able to learn from vast amounts of data, right? And today, what we have as our ChatGPT, our BARD, or any other large language models was actually built based off the ability to develop neural networks to learn from large volume of data. And that's why today, instead of we providing data and then providing code to artificial intelligence machine learning models, we can actually now speak to machine learning models in a natural language, and they understand what we want them to do. So that's the game changer here, and that's why large language models, and which we then see in our ChatGPT and Google Bard. It's like a game changer now because we can now like give instructions in English, particular instruction for us. Now, talking about supply chain. Supply chain is basically a network of organizations or companies that work together to produce and deliver goods and services to consumers. And supply chains can be very complex. There's traditional supply chain, which starts from the producer to the wholesaler, to the distributor, to the retailer, then to the consumer. But in the real world scenario, a supply chain can be more complex than that. And this involves a lot of interaction between the suppliers, the manufacturers, distributors, and the retailers. And above all, in the supply chain, there are like 5 major areas. So we have the planning area, where it involves you planning or forecasting for your demand or managing your demand and things around that. Also, there's a sourcing part where if you're a production company, your procurement manager is managing getting supplies from your various suppliers, creating RFQs, receiving quotes from your suppliers, issuing purchase orders, and also managing the vendors and basically looking at vendor performance and so many other things around vendors. Also, there's a production part where production planning comes in play. You have your bill of materials, we have predictive maintenance to ensure that your production is always optimal as much as possible and you have 0 to no downtime. Also, we have the inventory management side where you are managing your materials, trying to find what's the proper EOQ for you to have. Also, and some other activities around inventory management. And finally, which is also like a very huge part of any supply chain, is logistics, because you obviously have to ship these goods or you have to move these things to the final consumer. So when it comes to shipping and warehousing, there are also major activities within the supply chain. So the question now is, why AI now in supply chain, right? Why do we need AI now in supply chain? For a supply chain to be as efficient as possible today, there's need for improved visibility. So the thing is that a lot of unstructured information pass through supply chain. So think about interaction between a supplier and a manufacturer. A lot of messages, a lot of information is exchanged between both parties, right? And this has a flow of so many unstructured information that normally you need an human being to come in between to explain what is going on or explain the situation of things. Another thing again is that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we all noticed that supply chains around the world were basically broken, right? Because they could not quickly adapt or react to changes, right? So today, if you're going to be a business or you're going to run a supply chain business efficiently, you need to be able to quickly adapt or react to changes. And this could be, for example, a spike in your demand or changes to regulation or compliance or any other thing that really you will have to react to within your supply chain. Also, there's need for speed, right? Everybody, all consumers today want things fast, quick, as quickly as possible. And if you do not provide that, you're going to be losing out on a huge chunk of the market. So as a supply chain analyst, you need to be able to have information at your fingertips. Also, manual tasks that you do every day. Automating those manual tasks will obviously improve the speed as which you operate within your supply chain. So the next section we're going to go into now is the various applications. So we're going to be drilling down into how exactly can I apply AI within my supply chain. So AI, like I mentioned earlier on, has different branches. So there's a part where AI enables you to extract information from things like documents, images, and text. And because today you can actually, like I said earlier on, you can speak to machine learning models in English or in your normal regular language, that just like you're speaking to a friend or you're speaking to a human, right? So with using large language models, you can generate structured information from unstructured information. So take, for example, a PDF or an image, right, that contains a quote from a supplier, rather than having an human being go through that quote. Okay, what is the supplier price? What are the items in the quote? Things like that. Basically, using large language models, you can basically extract all of that information and structure that information in a format that can easily be stored in a database or be viewed by whoever needs to consume or make use of that information. Also, you can also classify documents and images. So take, for example, you have a batch of products that are delivered to you by a supplier. Using artificial intelligence, you can detect if there's a defect with that particular product just by snapping the picture of that product and asking the artificial intelligence model and say, okay, is there a defect with this particular product or not? So imagine you have a camera system within your warehouse that just basically snaps products that they move through your line, basically, and you're able to detect that, okay, there's a defect with this particular product or there's no defect with this particular product. Also, information retrieval. So like I said earlier on, as a supply chain analyst, you need to be able to have information at your fingertips. And artificial intelligence can help you because within a supply chain company, there are different departments or different areas, right? So there's procurement department, there's logistics department, there's even the management and so many other departments. And all of these departments produces information that may be peculiar to a particular batch of order or may be peculiar to a particular production process. Instead of asking or waiting to maybe your supply chain manager to come around to ask him that, what was the last time we delivered this particular product to this customer, or when was last time we worked with this particular supplier? Because all of that data can be read by artificial intelligence model, it makes it possible for you to just interact with a system where you can just ask information. Like, for example, when was the last time we worked with this particular vendor? And you get the response back immediately. And this response is based off your own internal data as a company. So because today most people have the fear that, oh, artificial intelligence produces information that might not be factually correct, right? But today, artificial intelligence with LLMs can be combined with your company internal data so that the information that's being produced by the models is restricted within the scope of your company. So that improves the speed at which supply chain analysts or supply chain managers get information and also help them to be more responsive to the end consumer. Also, automation of supply chain tasks. So take, for example, you have an order that comes in from a customer, rather than employing a bunch of sales staffs or employing a bunch of customer care representatives. You can have an artificial intelligence model sit in between that process. And every time an order is sent in, maybe to your mail or to your WhatsApp, it can basically extract the information from that particular order. So, for example, let's say someone sends a mail, maybe a company that produces manufacturers Indomie, for example, and you have an order from your supplier for different types of noodles that you produce. Rather than have an human being go through that order every single time it comes in, as the intelligence model can basically extract all the products that are in that mail and the quantity of the product that the person is requiring, and then move ahead and store that information in a database, which you can then view later on. So that cuts out the time and energy that an individual will have spent going through thousands of emails just to store that information or manually log that information back into a system, right? Also, take for example, you have vendors that you work with, and you need to be able to quickly select, okay, which vendor do I work with for this particular RFQ that I've sent out, right? So artificial intelligence can help you to quickly review the various RFQs that come in, or the various quotes rather, that comes in from your vendors, and choose the best vendor or recommend the best vendor for you to work with. Also, artificial intelligence can also help you with things like demand forecasting, determine your EOQ in a real-time format. So these are the various applications of supply chain. So we're going to be going forward now to some real life word cases or case studies, and to see how artificial intelligence, these things that have been mentioned, can be applied within certain companies. So the first case study we're going to be talking about is a food production company. So I'm going to be using fictional names here so that I do not specifically mention a company. So we're going to be taking a company named Premier Food. So Premier Food is a food production company that produces noodles, right? And their distributors normally send orders into them via emails or WhatsApp or even just text messages, right? And their sales team normally would have to process all of those mails and then go to a system, maybe SAP or another system, and log that order information into the system. Now, the issue is that the sales team obviously will spend most of their time logging this information into a system, right? And then crafting a response back to the distributor that, okay, we have this particular item in stock, or we don't have this particular item in stock, we can only fulfill this quantity of your order, things like that, right? So the sales team would most times spend so much time and energy doing all of that. Now, using artificial intelligence for this particular company, you can cut out all of that process, right? Artificial intelligence can first of all help you to extract information from the order that comes in, right? So, take for example, a distributor says he sends a mail. The mail can contain other information, but within the mail, it says that I want to order for 10 cartons of Super Pack, another 10 cartons of Hungry Man, right? Artificial intelligence models are able to extract that, okay, it is 10, the product is Super Pack and Hungry Man, and the quantity is 10 cartons each. And then it will check your inventory for you and see that, okay, do we currently have this particular item in stock? Based off that information other information about your inventory, it would sub-distributor that, okay, we can currently fulfill your products at this particular price, or we don't currently have this particular product in stock. Give us about maybe 2 days, 3 days, depending on your lead time for your production. Give us this number of days and we'll deliver the product to you. So you can see that using artificial intelligence in this particular process for this company, they're able to save time and also save human resources where they could have their sales people have spent days going through the volume of orders that are coming from their various distributors across the country. So that is one case study. Later on, we shall be seeing a live demo of how this works in practicality. The second case study is about a manufacturing company. So the second case study is about a kind of car manufacturing company. So we have one of the most popular car manufacturing companies in Nigeria, Innocent. So imagine Innocent has a supplier that is in China that supplies various parts of their cars that they produce, right? Normally, the Chinese vendor or the Chinese supplier might be speaking Chinese or might be providing their quotations in Chinese in Chinese language, right? So maybe the car manufacturing company will obviously need to probably employ someone that understands Chinese or can relate with that particular Chinese vendor, right? And in this case, after he has done the relations, maybe offline on a phone call or something, right? He or she then will now have to come back into the system and log in all those information or inform his manager, whoever is in charge. Okay, this is the current update with that Chinese supplier. Also, if there's a shipment from that Chinese supplier to the car production company, and there's a delay, and the Chinese supplier obviously will probably need to still communicate with this particular person in Chinese and tell them that, okay, there's a particular delay in shipping this particular product. Now, all of this takes time, and it's possible that some information might be lost in between the back and forth of communication between these various parties, right? Now, let's see how we can use artificial intelligence to solve or to make this process much, much, much faster and much efficient. Now, the first step is because language models have been trained on various languages, so they're not trained on just English. So they understand French, they understand Chinese, and so many other languages, right? So you basically do not need to employ someone that understands Chinese to relate with a Chinese vendor in this instance, right? Also, you can relate with any vendor around the world without them talking to you in your own language, right? So the first step is that when the supplier gives a response back to you that, okay, this particular item I'm shipping to you, there's going to be a delay, and then we provide that response to you via email in Chinese, right? But because you're using artificial intelligence and language model, that is able to be converted back to English, and then the message or the import of the content to that email talking about the delay is actually being classified. So take for example, it says, okay, due to COVID-19 restrictions or due to a disease breakout, there'll be a delay in delivering this particular spare part to your company for 10 days. Now, artificial intelligence is able to detect, first of all, that is a delay message. So it basically classifies that information as a delay. Then secondly, it's able to detect that, okay, the delay is actually because there's an outbreak or disease outbreak within the facility of the Chinese supplier. Also, it's able to also detect that, okay, Chinese supplier mentioned that it would take 10 days for this delay to be ratified. So this is how artificial intelligence can basically speed up the process and also help the company to save cost, right? Because now immediately the Chinese guy provides the updates. There's an alert that goes within the system that, okay, there's a delay and this is why the delay is happening and this is how long the delay is going to take. So we are going to pause for a bit now so I could set up my system to show a live demo. So please give me a minute.
All right. Well done, our guest speaker. While he was giving him time to set up his system, I want to recognize the presence of Brigadier General Yusuf in our midst. Thank you for being part of the discussion tonight, this lecture. We really appreciate your presence, sir. I also want to recognize the presence of one of our fathers in the house, Professor Ayodeji Oluleye. Thank you, sir, for always being part of the lecture. Our last chairman for the last lecture, we also want to recognize your presence, Engineer Ayodele Adeboye. Thank you also for making it tonight. Please, we just need to exercise a little bit of patience while our speaker sets up a system so that it can do a live demo of this usage for us. But I want to believe we are gaining one of two things from the what he has presented so far, and we are also penning down our questions from this interaction that he has given. I believe there is a lot to learn from these, and now today we are all seeing the power of AI, especially in using it in the area of communication and in doing business. And I want to really appreciate the one is mentioned of, breaking the boundaries between the language barrier, especially in transacting business with any other counterpart across the world using a different in any language, whether it's by mail or even by voice message. So I think that is so great to know. All right, Engineer Corridor, we are waiting.
Okay. Sorry about the delay. Friends are trying to. Can we take questions and answer at the moment then before we kickstart the live demo, so that we don't keep everyone waiting.
All right. So if thank you. If we have questions already from the presentation while we're waiting for him to do the live demo, please you can raise your hand if you have a question, so that he can be answering that at the same time setting up his laptop to join the system. And you can also put it in the chat box. But if you would like to ask your question, please just raise your hand so that we can unmute you and you can ask your question. I also want to recognize the presence of the first class governor of the first MEM set of the Industrial and Production Engineering. That's the Masters in Engineering Management. For those who are wondering what is MEM, it's Masters in Engineering Management, Engineer Oladipupo Smith. You are acknowledged, sir. So while we are waiting for questions from listeners and participants tonight, my own question to you, Engineer Moshood, is from the consumer perspective, how can a consumer use artificial intelligence to optimize, either where he's going to buy, make a purchase, or to find the cheapest product around him, and that will, of course, will find the cheapest product around him that will cost him probably that is the cheapest product for him to buy, both in terms of logistics and the cost of the good itself, especially from the consumer point of view. Now, for example, I want to buy a particular spare part, and of course, there could be many vendors, but can I use AI to find maybe the nearest vendor to Ibadan, and I will deliver at the cheapest or the shortest distance, considering factors like lead time and all that in the area of supply chain? That's the question I think I have.
Yes. So this is very much possible, but it will be provided by the platform or whatever website or web application you are going to be making use of. So today, if you probably go to Jumia, for example, you'll find out that they have like a recommendation system where you can get like a list of products that are recommended to you, and this is obviously most times based on the price and what you basically have bought before, right? So they look at things like, what have I bought before? What was the price of the items that you bought before, right? So most times it's very hard for you as a consumer to want to make use of artificial intelligence at that scale, because you're not the one supplying the products, but you're not the one producing the products, right? So the platforms will have to be the ones to provide that kind of service directly to you, but it's very much possible. I know most people today use ChatGPT or they use BAT to get information, but sometimes most of those informations are not always factually correct because they are not based off actual data. Most times they are based off data from different people, like from the web, basically. And we all know that sometimes what we have on the web is not always correct. So that's like the issue with that. So most times it's best if you use an application that's been developed by a company, maybe the e-commerce website or the selling website that you want to buy the products from. So they'll be in the best place to develop such kind of application for you.
All right, thank you. Do we have more questions? Anyone would?
So I'll be sharing my screen now. Just give me a minute.
Engineer Moshood, we have not seen your screen yet. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm trying to wondering what's going on. Okay. I think I should join. Please let me know when you can see my screen. Okay, I think the host will have to let me in with my system. Sorry, can any other host see my my laptop? Question to join.
We can't see your laptop.
Okay, let me drop off on my phone and rejoin with my laptop. Let's see how that works.
Or what's the name you are joining with from your laptop?
Okay, I think I can present now. Sorry, apologies for the delay. So it seems I have to give my system. Okay, so I think you should be able to see my screen now. Just let me know if you could see my screen. Can anyone let me know? So can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but we are still not fully seeing the screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure. Trying to see if I can screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me just move this down. Okay, so we're going to be taking some of the case studies and then we're going to be seeing a live application of that. Let me just close this. Okay. So, like I mentioned, what powers artificial intelligence today is basically large language models, right? And one of the best large language models is being produced or being made today by Google, and I'll be showing how one of their models can be used to basically carry out some of these case studies that I mentioned. So we're starting first of all with the order extraction case study. So this is basically a setup for testing or iterating over your model, basically your AI model. So let's assume that you have this particular order. So remember I talked about the case study of a food production company that produces noodles, and they have different orders coming in from different distributors across the country, and the order comes in via the mail. So let's assume this content here is the content of the order, the email that was being sent to that company, right? So the person says, "Dear Premier Food, I want to place an order for this particular item, and please ship the order to this particular address." Then also he mentions some other information that he prefers to pay by cash, and if they have any questions, please asked, right? And this is just a sample email that can be sent by a particular distributor to that particular company, right? Now, the AI model is able to, first of all, extract what is the person requesting for, right? So we're just going to run this now and see a live extraction of the information about the products from this email. So I'm just going to run this now. So one interesting thing about also artificial intelligence is that you can basically fine-tune the parameters that your model would use to extract information. So if, for example, you're not getting the right information or there's lack of consistency, you can basically fine-tune most of these parameters and basically doing a couple of trial and error just to make sure that you get the right extraction done. But most times they are like best values that you can set, and that's what I'm trying to set here. So basically, I'm just going to click on submit now and wait for a response. Yes, so a response has been generated. So from here now, we can see that I was able to, so there were a lot of information in this email, right? But we just needed the products and the quantity. So the AI model was able to extract the product name and the quantity that the particular supplier is requesting for. So this is one case study. I remember I said that, so apart from just extracting the products and the quantity that the customer is ordering for, you can also check your inventory to see whether you have that product in stock or not, and then craft an email that will be sent back to that particular distributor, informing them about their order. So I'm going to see another example where this is done. So I'm just going to go back now. So let's take, for example, the email has been sent and the product has been extracted, right? So this was the original email that was sent from the distributor. This was the product that was requested for that we saw in the previous extraction. Then, so in your inventory system, or whether you're using SAP or some other supply chain software, you stored what products you have available, the quantity available for sale, maybe the time to even produce that particular batch of that particular product, right? So these are just sample information that I'm providing to the AI model at this point. Okay, so I'm providing that I have Super Pack in stock, and I have just 500 cartons for sale. I also produce 100 cartons of Super Pack within an hour, and the price per carton is 5,000 naira. For Hungry Man, I have 5,000 cartons available for sale. Trying to produce 100 cartons is about 3 hours, and the price per carton is 2,000 naira. Remember, the customer is requesting for 100 cartons of Super Pack and 4,000 cartons of Hungry Man. Now, if you are supposed to be the one, and human being supposed to look at this particular order and probably comparing what you have in inventory, what the cost or what distributor is requesting for, you will know obviously that you cannot currently fulfill the order for the super part because it's just 500 that you have for sale. Now, imagine human being doesn't have to do that comparison. All this information is passed into the AI model, and then we're going to craft a response back to the supplier, informing them about all of these discrepancies that are happening currently. So I'm just going to run this now. So I'm going to generate an email that will be sent to the supplier, informing them about the status of their order. So let me just run this now. So yeah, I think I can, if this has 0. Yeah, so you can see the email that was sent, right? So you can see that in the email, it tells them that we currently just have 500 cartons of super pack available. We need to produce the remaining 500 cartons, and it takes us about 5 hours to produce the remaining quantity. We have this product of 1 gig available, so that means we can fulfill your order. And also telling you the total cost of all the items you're ordering for, right? Then also telling the user the unit cost of each of those items, and that they'll start working on the order immediately, and the order will be delivered within 7 days. So this has cut out human beings or employing someone within a system or employing a group of people within a system to carry out this process one by one, right? All of this happens almost immediately, almost instantly when the order comes in. So this is how a live case study of how you can help a food production company to be more responsive to their distributors and to orders that come in to their sales team. So that's one. So the second case study. So before I move ahead here, I think it's best if I get questions at each intervals of the case study so that it's more interactive. So I don't know if anyone has any question at this junction before we move on to the next case study. Okay.
Any question, please? You can just raise your hand or you type in the chat box. All right, please.
Okay.
Would you like to ask your question, Engineer Abdul Latif? Okay. Engineer Abdul Latif, you can unmute now. So,
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Yes, I wanted to ask that. Okay, when you have imputed this into your AI model of stuff like that, how will it okay now? Let's say you imputed this thing by maybe 12 a.m. on Monday morning, and then you receive this order maybe 6 p.m. I did I would okay, this my question is like this, if will it work on static data set that inputted it, or it will also have the ability to think that okay, if this data was inputted into me at this particular time, and then these people are sending this order at maybe 5 hours after them, that means these guys should have produced this certain amount more to what was actually inputted into me. We have the kind of creative thinking that it's also it's not be able to answer. Let's say it is this same order that was sent to it that it need this particular amount of order. That means it will now think that okay, after this particular amount of hours that this data is put into me, these guys should have been able to produce more, which will be able to solve, which will be able to settle this order that is being sent to me at this particular time, or it will just follow the data set that has been inputted in it that same morning. I used to reply the person. You understand my question?
Yes, I perfectly understand your question. So AI models don't work in isolation, right? They work with either your supply chain software application. So take, for example, you're using SAP in your organization. Obviously, production data, inventory data are stored in real time in those applications, right? So this is integrated into there. So I just provided a sample information, right? So for example, this information will be dynamic and always change per time it's available, right? So when another request comes in from your distributor, it looks for the latest information and populates all of this with the latest information. So I just created this static information for the purpose of this demo. But obviously we assume that this is going to be connected to a software, a system that you currently use within your organization. I hope that answers your question. Engineer Abdulatif.
All right. Do we have another question before we move on? All right, Engineer Moshood, you can move on, please.
Okay. So moving on to okay, I think there's an okay. So there's actually a case study I did not mention during my presentation. So I'm just going to quickly rush over that. So imagine you are a servicing company or a company that need vendors to do some type of servicing or carry out a particular project for you within your organization. So this most times happen in the oil and gas sector, right? So imagine NNPC sends out a request for bids to people to provide bids to for a particular project, right? Now, obviously, internally within the organization, there are a couple of criteria that are going to be used to evaluate those bids that they send out, right? Now, normally, the problem is that you will need to go through a lot of bids that come in through emails or even documents that have been submitted at the company and the rest, right? And that's a lot of human man hours that is being spent, right? So now artificial intelligence can help you to automatically review all the bids that are being sent in real time, right? And this will help you to review it based off the rules that you've set as an organization that, okay, this is what we're looking for in a bid that is being sent. So this particular case study or this particular demo is assuming, for example, that NNPC sent out a particular bid request for provision of upstream services, right? This was the bid email that was sent out to people that want to request for. This was a request for bid, basically. So it had what the request for bid was all about, the scope of work, just some other information like eligibility requirements, instructions to the people that want to submit the bids back, and also the evaluation criteria, basically. Now, within the organization, like I said, they could have internal rules that they're looking at or internal checks they're looking at to make sure that, okay, they choose the right person for the bid. So this rules section is basically just assuming, I just made up a couple of rules. So some rules around technical competence, some rules around financial capability. So for example, the person that is submitting the bid must have a working capital of this amount of money, and they must have a good credit rating. In terms of experience, they must have 5 oil vessels, or they must have an oil license or whatever. Also, they must have been operating for 10 years. So these are those rules arbitrary rules that can be set by the organization, right? And now let's assume that a particular company then sends back a bid in response to this request for bid. So I'm going to be calling this company Farms Oil, right? So they sent back their bid in response to the request for bid that was sent out. They mentioned that, they have an oil license, they have 5 oil vessels, they have a working capital of up to 300 million naira, and the current rating is B+. They're operating for the past 20 years, and they completed at least 500 projects, right? Now, when they send this old email back to the company, rather than having someone to go through thousands of bids or hundreds of bids that have come in, the AI model can help you to analyze those bids that are coming and help you to choose the best bid. So this is going to run this now. So it's going to create like a analysis report of this particular bid that was sent in. So I'm just going to run this now. So you can see that it created like a report. So it says on technical competency, your rule for oil license was passed, your rule for number of oil vessels was passed, your rule on working capital was passed, your rule on credit rating was passed, they have the right experience, they completed the right number of products they are looking for, their price is within your budget, and also it's currently the lowest bid that has been sent in. So obviously, it gives them an overall ranking of 5, right? 5 out of 5. So let's do a bit of change here. So let's assume that the person says they'll be operating for 2 years, right? And they've only completed 5 projects, right? And let's just change the experience, right? And let's run this again. You will see that the AI model is able to detect that, oh, this particular bid does not meet those criteria, and it gives them a lower rating. So I'm just going to run this again. So as you can see, the rating has dropped, right? So they have an overall ranking now of 2, and working capital, the credit rating part was not fulfilled. The number of rating years was not fulfilled. The completed project was not fulfilled. So you can see that depending on the response, whatever response to the bid that various bidders send to the company, the AI model is able to automatically and immediately analyze those bids and give them a ranking score. At the end of the day, it makes it faster, makes it cheaper for you to be able to select the best bid, and also makes the process also very transparent. So this is another case study that could be applied within a servicing company when it comes to a service-based supply chain. So the last case study we're going to be looking at, but before I move on to the last case study, any questions? Any questions? Okay. Okay, I'm taking that as a no. Okay. So the last case study, like I mentioned, was imagine a car manufacturing company that has suppliers in China. And obviously, these people don't speak English, they speak Chinese. So there's a language barrier already. So most times, if you want to break that language barrier, you need to have an intermediary that you pay that understands the Chinese guy and understands you. But obviously, there are a lot of loopholes in that, right? The person could tell you the wrong thing. The person could not pass across the right information. So there's a lot of human errors that can occur in that particular process. So now let's assume that you decide to deploy a AI model within your system to bypass all of that, right? So you have a supplier that you're working with that's in China, and it sends in the email to you, and the email is totally in Chinese, just like we can see here, right? So the email is sent to you, and you want to be able to know, okay, is this person telling me that there's a delay in my shipment of this particular spare part, and what is delay really all about, right? But the message is in Chinese. So using the AI model, I'm just going to run this now. It's going to be able to tell you, 1, is there a delay? 2, what is the reason for the delay, right? And it gives all of that back in your own language, which is English, right? So I'm just going to run this now, and we can see the results. So yes, so you can see here now that it basically returns back a response to you that, oh, yes, there's a delay. And the reason for delay is because there's a COVID-19 outbreak at the factory in China, right? So this helps you to break language barriers when it comes to international supply chain or coordinating vendors that outside your own country that don't even speak the language that you're speaking, and they're providing updates to you. Sorry, seems someone could not see my screen. I'm seeing a message. Is my screen still visible?
Yes, it's still visible.
Okay.
I think you may need to log out and re-log in. The person may need to log out and re-log in again.
Okay. Yeah, so we've gotten to the end of the case studies. I believe everyone has any question now. We can go ahead and take the questions. So the questions could be how do I guess apply artificial intelligence within my organization? Maybe run a company that has a complex supply chain, or maybe work with a company that's it's a supply chain based company and there are some issues that you're currently facing and you feel like this task or this particular process can be automated. So you could ask questions around how AI can help you to automate that process. And maybe we could even tweak some of these demos to quickly show a quick sample solution to that particular problem. So I'm open for questions.
Right, thank you, Engineer Moshood, for your presentation. Please, can we give him a round of applause in the chat box with the emojis for that demonstration and explanation of how to use AI in optimizing our various supply chain models. While we're waiting for questions from the floor, I want to bring about the chairman to quickly react to the presentation tonight. Once again, apologies for the glitches we've had during these lectures tonight. So I want to bring up the chairman to give a quick reaction to the presentation tonight. Mr. Chairman, sir.
Well, good evening once again. So, good evening once again, and I'm sure that most of us would have been quite intrigued with the information that the guest lecturer has given us. I personally, I think I've learned quite a lot of things from this presentation. What this just tells us is that with AI, we can improve the efficiency in our businesses and in whatever we do. And also that AI also helps us to break down some of the complexities that actually appear in the things we do on a day-to-day basis and make them better. So, and I believe, like I said, for those of us in the industry, for those in the academia, AI, just like we have been told, has come to stay. And we need to key into this opportunity to ensure that we're able to improve on what we do, especially considering the challenging circumstances that we have, both domestically in the country and worldwide, considering, especially when we talk about supply chain, which Engineer Korede has told us about. A lot of the conflicts in the world, especially the typical one, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, has actually caused disruption in a lot of supply chains, either in oil and gas or even in the food production chain. But with AI, I'm sure that businesses that make use of AI will be able to move around these challenges. So, Engineer Korede, thank you very much for this valuable information that you have passed to us. And I'm sure that this would have opened our eyes to some of the other opportunities that AI presents to us in running our businesses and in running our lives. Before I sign off, I must acknowledge the presence of Professor Oluleye. Professor Oluleye was our lecturer. I belong to the second set of the department. He was a lecturer, very good guy, somebody that we really admire, and I'm sure we still admire him. So, sir, it's nice to meet you online again, and I pray that God will continue to renew your strength. And also, I want to acknowledge my good friend and colleague from that set, Engineer Adeboye. Thank you very much for being part of this, and thank you for your support and always being there for me. So I think my last remark is to thank everybody for being part of this presentation. and your patience, especially while the lecturer was trying to take us through the hands-on, which I believe that it's really worth the waiting. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Sal, for that word of encouragement and recap of the presentation. I just want to remind us that one of the strengths of the AI from what Engineer Korede has presented is data. And I think we are still not taking the issue of data keeping seriously enough in Nigeria, either as a business, even as institutions. And I think we need to begin to work on that area. We cannot really apply AI when you don't keep data, you don't update your data from time to time. And I think this should be something that each and every one of us, whether it's a personal data, is your business, how seriously are you taking the data management aspect of your business? And because without that, you cannot really be able to apply much of AI to that. So I just need to bring back to our memory tonight. Also, something which he kept on mentioning is using SAP, and I want to also use this opportunity to inform us that the Department of Industrial and Production Engineering currently runs short courses on SAP training. So if you are interested, please reach out to Professor Oladokun or any of the lecturers in the department, and they will tell you what it's going to cost, the time for the lectures, and you can also upgrade your skill in that area of supply chain management using SAP. So please, those opportunities are there for us, and we can leverage on that. Engineer Moshood, there are some questions here which I would like to read in the chat, and you can respond to them. But if anyone wants to speak to the house, you can just raise your hand so that you can be unmuted and you can ask your question. It says, can you shed light on the area of demand forecasting with AI, which is live use case 2? Probably if you have a case study on that you can use, that's on demand forecasting. Should I take all the questions at once, or you just respond to them one at a time?
So I think let me just respond.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so as regards demand forecasting, the purpose, why AI works is because you have data, right? So if you do not have, maybe for example, you don't have your previous sales data stored somewhere, maybe it can even be in a document, right? Or it could be in a CSV file or an Excel file. If you don't have that information somewhere, it's going to be very difficult for this to work with AI. That's one. Two, yes. So a use case scenario is, let's say I've been storing my sales data for the past 10 years in an Excel sheet. I can upload the Excel sheet into an application that is AI driven, right? So where I currently lead engineering, we actually build an AI application for situations or use cases like this, right? So you can upload your Excel sheets to that AI application, and you can then write a prompt. So let's say, for example, you could write that I want to predict my sales for the next 6 months, or I want to predict my sales for the period of January 2024 to the period of December 2024, right? Now, unlike before, where you probably need a developer to help you to encode that, or you need to interact with an interface to be able to encode all of that, right? Now you can just provide, just like you're talking to somebody, right? You can just provide all of that information, all what you need in a simple text prompt. And then using that Excel sheet that you uploaded and the information that is there, the AI model is able to use, for example, a linear regression model or whatever model that is best fitted on your data distribution to predict what particular demand you're going to be having within that period that you mentioned within your text. So this makes life very easy, right? So you can ask the AI. So it's almost like a co-pilot, right? That is by your side. So help you out with your information, your data. So that's a very simple use case scenario, all you have to do is upload your document to that software and then ask your question. What's my demand for 2024? What's my demand for whatever period that you want, right? And it chooses the best model to do that forecasting for you and then produces the results, which you can then see as a response. So I hope that was able to answer your question, Engineer Ezekiel.
Thank you so much for that response. The next question is, how can AI be integrated in a custom web-based platform that caters to the needs of a warehouse?
Okay. So for this question, for you to be able to get AI, obviously, you need to have some form of technical expertise, right? So you need to be able to know how to use generative AI or connect generative AI models to your application, right? So that's the first technical expertise that you need. Or you need to use a software that already integrated generative AI into their product. So like, for example, I mentioned where I currently the engineering Tradalai. So it's an AI platform basically. So if you have a warehouse and you store your inventory in that warehouse, right? So let's say, for example, you've uploaded pictures of your various products that you sell. So as those products coming into your inventory line in your warehouse, and you have like a camera that basically just records the movement of those products, it can basically help you to count each and every one of those products, right? So that's a very simple use case of stock keeping, so to say, within your warehouse. Also, as it stores all this information in a database, like we saw earlier on, when a customer had a request for an order, is able to detect that, okay, we currently have this volume of products in our warehouse, and this is what we can supply to you at the moment, or we can fulfill all your order at the moment. So those are like scenarios. But for you to integrate it into your web platform, you need to have some form of technical experience when it comes to integrating or developing models, or AI models, basically. So that's the first step that needs to be crossed, or you use a software that already has that integrated. I hope that answers your question, Tamara.
Okay, thank you so much for that response once again. Your response now always makes me to remember every time I'm entering the University of Ibadan, I'm always wondering why the security are always writing the plate number. That can't we just have a camera that is just snapping, the plate numbers of every car that comes in and is recording, the details, and all that. I hope our students are listening. That could be a project, and our stakeholders are also listening, and they can implement such going forward to help improve the system. Before I come back to you, Engineer Moshood, to give your closing thought, I would like to at this point announce that the next lecture will be for next month is going to be in November 10, and the topic we are looking at is Agile Procurement, Key to Supply Chain Excellence. And our lecturer is going to be Engineer Mrs. Yemisi Ashimolowo, who is currently the Head Planning and Procurement, May and Baker Nigeria PLC, and also the founder of Source Queen Company. So that's going to be the lecture for next month, and also going to be on supply chain, and we are looking forward to that engagement. I also want to recognize the presence of Dr. Oladipekun, who is also part of the pioneer set of industrial and production engineering, and also a chair of this lecture series, the second lecture series of this alumni series of lectures. Engineer Moshood, your closing thoughts. Thank you.
Okay. It's been a great honor being able to speak to everybody today. I mean, it's most of the people here are people that I tutored under, right? Professor Leah was my project supervisor when I was in the department, and it's great to be on this stage, basically presenting to the house. So it's been a great honor. Also, I believe these are ways in which we can inspire the next generation of young ones that are coming up within the department. And I had a conversation with the head of department, Professor Ladukun, and I'm going to look at areas in which I could provide additional support to the students within the department, and also areas where the department might need one or two assistance. Yes, also, if you want to get started using, maybe you run a business, a supply chain business, or you believe that AI can help you transform your business, please reach out to me. I think I can, my contact can be provided by the HOD if you need my contact details. So please just reach out, feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, there's a software that I'm currently building that can able to automate your supply chain processes. So that's also available. And if you need some kind of custom application or some kind of custom consultancy, I can also provide that to you. But it's been a great honor. Thank you very much to the department for providing this opportunity. I see someone has a question. Do you want us to?
Okay, I think the hand is down. All right, thank you once again, Engineer Moshood, and thank you everyone for staying to this time. I want to bring up Dr. Kolawole for the vote of thanks on behalf of the HOD. Dr. Kolawole, over to you.
Thank you, everybody. I want to thank God for the opportunity to come together again today. I want to thank one of us who have made this day a reality again. First of all, I want to thank our guest lecturer, Engineer Moshood, for coming up and delivering this lecture. We want to thank you. The way you have demonstrated it has shown that you really understood and very deep in this thing you are doing. You added another dimension, so to say, to the presentation today, the demonstration, practical demonstration that you have shown. We want to thank you for giving your time. I will pray that it's going to move forward in every facet. I want to thank our special guest of honor, Professor Babalola, the Vice Chancellor of Bowen University, who was immediate past provost of our postgraduate college here. We thank you, sir, for making out time and also recognizing the fact that you have been a friend of our department. You are one of our lecturers before in our professional masters in engineering management. You have been part of us. Thank you for making out your time, your busy schedule. More grace. I want to thank our chairman too, Engineer Onadeko. This part of the pioneer set, second set, as he has said. We know it's not easy to have you here, but thank you for honoring the invitation when we invited you. We want to thank Professor Okoroa, the Director of Academic Planning, University of Ibadan. Is a very busy man by virtue of his, as a lecturer, and that office is holding. But yet, he has made it possible to honor us today with his presence. He's also a friend of our department. At one time or the other, has lectured in our Professional Master of Engineering Management as well. I want to say thank you, sir, for coming. I want to thank Mrs. Alao, the Director of Items in University of Ibadan. Thank you, ma, for making it possible. I want to thank everyone, our senior colleague, Professor Lule, who have been there, the head of departments, all the planning committee, the engagement team. Thank you for your studious work that you always do to make sure that this program come on board. I want to say a big thank you to you. I want to thank some participants in particular who are in diaspora, particularly Engineer Theorem and co over there in Hong Kong. Their time now is about 3 a.m. if I'm not wrong. They are more or less keeping vigil to attend this program. Thank you for coming. I want to thank everybody, all our alumni who have been supporting us one way or the other. Everyone, we want to say thank you to our students, to lecturer in the department. Every one of us, we are highly appreciated. And we believe that as we go around this program, one way or the other, we are bringing in one thing or the other that we are learning on every day, and particularly engaging ourselves, discussing things that are useful, that are meaningful, that can bring national development is a very good thing instead of diverting to some other thing that will not really be helpful. All the same, so I want to say a big thank you to every one of us as we look forward to another lecture come November by God's grace. Thank you. and God bless you all.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kolawole, for that vote of thanks. I want to thank everyone once again for staying to this time. We look forward to seeing you again in November. Please share the word. Help us to also broadcast this lecture series, because we are all learning and we are getting better every day. And on that note, our guest speaker, once again, thank you, our chairman, our guest of honor. Thank you, everyone, for this time out. And we want to wish you a fruitful weekend. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and God bless you. See you in November. God bless.
Amen. Thank you.